little disorganized today, just we got here late, or I got here late.
Yeah, he's that.
Plenty to talk about today, though.
Yeah, plenty, but
I know we're gonna hear about Zumba, so
yeah,
why
yeah,
don't you
yeah,
get
yeah.
started
And
with
you
that?
know, Zumba is really super. We've got such a great turnout. People are asking to do their Zumba. So I want to remind everyone, this is run by family, whatever, Parks and Rec, whatever I call it. Hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. It's Monday. It's a beautiful day out. It's not too sunny, but I'm hoping you're all doing well. So I wanted to remind you guys on Tuesday, tomorrow at 5:30 at the Hartford, what do you call it? South Hartford Senior Wellness Center. We do have Zumba. Zumba is for anyone who can move. Doesn't matter whether you're a senior, young, or what. This is open to the public. And it's on the third floor. Start at 5:30. We started at 5 last time, but people are saying I have to rush from work to get over there. So 5:30 is much better. And it's doing so well that people are thinking, well, we need to do it more than once a week. So I got the okay from the Health and Human Service Director and also from the family, what they call it, Children, Family, and Director to, extend it if we wanted to another day. So I think it's really, people are really loving it. I think it's a real, Kevin, I think you should come and do some of it sometime.
Actually, the reason I'm late is I bought a bike this morning.
You were exercising?
I started last week walking out at the West Hartford Reservoir, the one across from the Yukon Health Center.
Yeah.
What a beautiful spot.
It is.
The parking out there is, from what I can tell, is safe. A lot of nice people walking around, everybody says hello to each other. Nothing illegal going on.
Boy, you look handsome this morning. Is
You know,
that because you
oh, yeah,
went
it's-
walking over the weekend?
Yeah, so anyways, I went out there one night last week, and a friend of mine said, well, you gotta be out of there by sundown, because the park closes at sundown.
Right.
I didn't realize the trails were as long as they are. Once you start and go up behind the reservoir, it's a long walk.
It's a long
So I
walk.
took my dog with me, and he really hadn't been out walking like that since last fall. So he was limping by the time he was done. I'm sure the pads on his feet were bothering him from the asphalt, but it's a beautiful spot. We were up behind the reservoir, and they're all paved, for the most part they're paved. Some areas it's broken up, but
Yeah.
we were up behind the reservoir, and two big white-tailed deer ran across the trail in front of us.
Connie's probably telling me she can't hear hear the telephone.
Well, I can hear us echoing, so
Hi, Connie. There's no voice coming over? I don't understand. All right, we'll look into it, okay? Bye. She can't hear nothing. So I'm not sure how.
okay. Well, I can hear us in the booth, so I know
Yeah,
we're getting
but-
sound to the booth.
Yeah, but why is
What's
she
going
not
on through
picking it up?
Comcast is
Yeah.
actually, Trish, maybe could you look at the TV out in the lobby and just see if you're getting sound on that?
Yeah, this is one of my
Because
neighbors.
nobody else here looks into, well, we got Mike,
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
the staff person here, he's usually pretty good.
It's working. I don't understand why she can't hear it.
I think that's maybe something in Comcast system.
Yeah.
We checked, but-
Well, that's
So
not
anyways, I went up to the reservoir, beautiful spot, it was a nice night, the deer running across the trail, geese and ducks swimming around in the ponds and the streams up there. So for anybody that's never gone out there, it's a nice walk, it's not tough, there's not a lot of, there's inclines, but they're pretty gradual. If you're thinking about walking or getting a little exercise, as much as I would like to use the riverfront trails, I have a little bit of concern about that when the rangers aren't down there and it's not being patrolled. But the West Hartford reservoirs are very nice out there, it's beautiful. And for what we pay for water, we might as well take advantage of the MDC properties a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, so now we're
yeah, so
also.
keep your Zumba.
Yeah,
I'm
keep my
walking at the
Zumba.
reservoir.
Okay, Kevin, all right, I'll keep the Zumba.
Although I do wanna come and see you in your leopard leotard.
Yeah, please come on over, you gotta come over, maybe you can take some pictures and put it on your, blog, just so people, anyway, so some of these things is happening in May, at the South End Wellness Center, they're gonna be having some domino tournament there. Was 6, 7, 8, and 9, they have the tournament where they will receive a cup or something like that. Other things, brain fitness. So, try and go by, do your exercise. We do have the exercise machine that I work out on every morning. I try to,
And you still walk every morning?
No, I don't do walking every morning, but I do every so often in the evening, through the park. I was concerned over the weekend, I had to call Rob.
There was a stabbing in the park last.
Yeah, I had to
last
call
week.
Rob and ask him if I was to be concerned. He says no, because this person was somebody, knew each other and they did that, so. Anyway, and don't forget.
It's not a bright idea to be in the parks after dark.
Right.
No matter what the situation.
Exactly. Also this weekend, Saturday, from 9 to 12, Maple Avenue Revitalization Group is having their cleanup activities, and you know we always like to do a little cookout afterwards. So I'm encouraging anyone who would like to do community service hours. This is a great opportunity for you to come on out and do that. We're meeting right across from Dunkin' Donuts and Maple Avenue, where the old Sunshine Laundry used to be. So from 9 to 12. Try to get in 9:30. We like to take a photo ops of everybody that's there. So I'm hoping you'll all, get involved and help cleaning up the neighborhood. And that's what we like to do.
And if you get there early enough, there's usually donuts.
And yes, if you get there early enough, we might have some
And if you
donuts.
stay till the end.
You might have some
there's hot
hamburgers
dogs
and hot
hamburgers.
dog. Yeah. So I encourage everyone to get involved in their neighborhood, try to clean up and everything. Make us feel all happy and good. So Kevin, tell me, what's going on in the city? I see the council is having some tit and
We'll
tat.
go into that in a minute, but, another sad homicide last night.
Yeah, but what's somebody doing in a car at 1:30 in the morning?
Well, and you don't want to blame the victim, but you've got to think, what's the thinking that goes into this? An email I got, the police department has been doing a very good job putting out information after these events. And the email that came out this morning identified her and said it was believed they were most likely up there buying narcotics. I was told it was marijuana, but the police department said narcotics. And they put in there, the sad part is the woman was 4 months pregnant.
Oh, that is so sad.
Well, what kind of mother would be,
Oh, at
and
1:30
I
in
know
the morning?
addiction is a terrible thing,
Yes.
but you've got to think about that baby you're carrying. Even if you're just around somebody smoking
Yeah.
marijuana, you're gonna be taking some of the smoke in and have some of the effects of
Mm-hmm.
the drugs. But it's a type of thing that we're coming into the busier time of year. These
Yeah.
always pick up during the summer. There's even a sadder story that is potentially gonna be our next homicide, and I hate to sit here and say this, but.
But we're not even sure
No,
if-
there was a call for shots fired yesterday.
Oh, okay.
A grandmother called and said somebody was shooting at her grandson.
Oh,
As it turned out, the grandson apparently ripped off some drug dealers and stole their drugs over the weekend.
all right.
Now, that's the type of thing that doesn't go unnoticed.
Hey, of course not.
Live by the sword, die by the
Die by the
sword.
sword.
So they came back at him, they tried to shoot him yesterday. He's still on the streets. But that's the type of thing that, can probably be prevented. We know who the kid is, we know his name, we know where he lives, we know where he hangs out. He's apparently got a notorious reputation in the north end of Hartford. And the life he's living, he's gonna be a corpse before too much longer.
Yeah.
And that's sad, that's what youth in this city are driven to. You can't go in and rob a drug dealer and steal his drugs and
Because you
and
won't
just
be-
say, okay, let it go.
I think he better leave town.
You ought to
And they'll even fight
At
him
least
when
buy
he
a
leaves
bulletproof
town,
vest.
right?
But
Yeah.
going back to this morning's current.
Yeah, I
And
noticed
this is
that.
something that's becoming more and more of a regular thing. The title that I saw online was "Honeymoon is Over. Segura is clashing with council," and that's Hartford City Council clashing more often with Segura. And it's sad to me that this is happening. And I posted on my blog about this last night. Everybody I talk to, citywide, no matter who you talk to, whether they're political or non-political, nobody says Pedro Segura is a bad guy. We used to hear that about Eddie. Eddie was a tyrant, Eddie's bad, Eddie's this, Eddie's a criminal. But we never hear that about Pedro. We hear, geez, he's not a bad guy, he's just a terrible mayor. He's a terrible leader, he's letting this stuff go on. And that's the stuff, the posting on my blog last night was, Pedro, please wake up. He's fallen into a trap that I think a lot of people do, that you want to be told you're good, you're successful, you're doing the right things.
Right.
But the people that are always patting you on the back are the ones who are in it for themselves too. Sometimes you've got to take a person and say, step back, look at what's happening, let's look at who's telling you you're great, are the people that are benefiting from you. You need somebody that can look at it, like, you and
From
I
the
talk to the
outside.
mayor, we've
From
told
the
the mayor our
outside.
thoughts a lot of times.
Yeah, from the outside.
Pedro has put some very, I don't wanna say terrible people, but he's made some terrible choices of the people he's surrounded himself with. You know, look at his chief of staff. Now that's somebody, if you go back and look at everything that's embarrassed the mayor over the last 6 or 8 months, and everything that's been a problem, it's either his chief of staff or Sandra Key Borges that are behind it. Look at the retiree issue now that was the subject of an audit commission report, and now the council has agreed to go hire an outside attorney for an opinion on it. That's something our corporation council should have been aware of, the ordinances that are on the books. And it's clearly in writing, no retiree can come back as an employee of the city of
Right.
Hartford for more than 6 months. That's her job to know the municipal code and the ordinances.
Well,
And
how,
she did.
how does she know when she's in this situation?
Well, she can't look at it objectively because it
Okay,
directly
that's what I'm
affects her.
saying, right.
But I mean, she should have known, if this had become an issue 8 or 10 months ago, she should have gone to the mayor as the attorney and said, Pedro, listen, we've got a problem.
I'll
There's an
help
ordinance.
you, but-
Let's start working with the council now
Right.
to change the ordinance or get an exemption in there so it's not gonna blow up in our faces and embarrass us. Instead, they just let it go until someone made a complaint, and it wasn't me. I'm getting blamed for it. But if I bring something to the public, I'll take full credit for it. I did not bring up the retiree issue. Apparently, it was somebody inside City Hall that left an
Most
anonymous
likely
tip
the treasurer
on the
or
fraud
whatever.
hotline. The auditors know who it is because he recognized the voice, and he said they wish to remain anonymous. But that's something that, would you pay an attorney, if you have an attorney for your business, and he doesn't advise you properly?
Then I
You
don't
go
want
and you
that.
sue him for incompetence and
Yeah, I
malpractice.
don't use that
You don't-
attorney,
You
know.
don't reward them, moving them up to a higher position.
Right, right.
And the mayor's chief of staff, look at the P card issue now. That's gonna be turn out to be a huge scandal, and I don't say that lightly. That's gonna be a scandal that's gonna embarrass Mayor Segura. And the reason it came to light is because his chief of staff thought it was acceptable on New Year's Eve to take out his city credit card and charge a $700 meal that had nothing to do with city business.
I think he does need to pay it back if that's the case.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, I'm
The-
just
the-
saying,
the-
it would be wise.
Okay, and I've been using this analogy with people for the last week. If you went in and you robbed the bank, and as you leave the bank, you go to the front doors, you see police cruisers pulling up with their lights on. You throw the money back to the teller and say, okay, I changed my mind. Are they gonna say, okay, no
You're
crime,
still
you just
wrong
leave?
for doing it.
You committed the crime in the first place, and just because you pay it back doesn't make it go away.
Well, you know, as I've said before, Kevin, you know, and I don't know how much it happened with the previous administration, but the point is that we have become a cash cow for everybody everybody and
And
everywhere.
that's part of what I
Okay.
put on the blog last night. It's sad because the people that Pedro is listening to, his so-called advisors, aren't people like you and I that love this city, live here no matter what. These are people that came here,
From
the
out
mayor's chief of staff came here from somewhere out in the eastern part of the state, never been a Hartford resident, never spent a lot of time in Hartford, I'm sure. He shows up here for a $100,000 plus a year's salary. You've got the corporation counsel, Sandra Key Borges, who's now, was trying to be elevated to chief operating officer, and apparently that's not gonna happen. But she's already collecting a $79,000 a year pension, plus $150,000 in salary now. These are people that are out for themselves. They're not here to make Hartford a better place.
You see, I think what tends to happen is that when people get in position, like whether the mayor or the council or whoever they are, they tend to bring their friends in, people they feel like they can trust. Okay, no, just look at it that way. They figure, but still.
Would you trust
in
somebody that
all
lies
in
right
all,
to your face?
But in all, when you know, like Sandra Key, you know that she's collecting a big fat salary already. Okay, you don't bring that person back in general because it looks bad on us. It looks bad because here it is. I can understand if they had
What
said,
about-
as you said before, to say, well, okay, you could come back. You'll have to put that freeze on your pension. You don't get any more pension. You know, so therefore, but the point is that people like to double dip in this city. Why you think so many of them like to work
But
here?
even-
Because they know there's so much opportunity of getting what they want.
But Hyacinth, look at all of our so-called poverty pimps.
Yes.
The people that are making a good living off the grant money for crime and death and
Whatever.
destruction. Some days I'd like to ask them, if the money wasn't there, would you offer to do the same thing for free?
No, they wouldn't.
Of course
They
not.
wouldn't.
It's money driven.
Yeah.
People that are out there, on the chief's coattails every day, what grant money do you have? How can I get my organization to get some of this money for anti-violence?
Right.
When they're not even out in the
Not they're
streets.
doing nothing.
You never
Yeah.
see these people out there in the streets.
It's a real complex situation, but the fact is that you have to look at your resident, how they're suffering, how to pay that little bill, their housing bill. If you look in general, we have the lowest housing stock in the whole state or
Owner occupied.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you figure, as a mayor, I would look at it as, well, and I know he's doing his best when it comes to trying to balance this budget thing without having to raise taxes and all that. But the point is that when you get into office, you have to be very mindful. And people will say, well, it's grant this money and grant money and da-da-da-da. But it's still money that could be put to use.
And again, I hate going back and pointing out positive points from Eddie Perez, because that just drives me nuts. I think he was just such a
But then he
terrible
was doing the same
detriment to the
thing
city.
too.
But he also had, and this is somebody else I don't really agree with. Do you remember Lou Brown?
Yeah.
He came back and volunteered for the city, I believe, in a communications capacity for a while. What would have been wrong with Pedro going to Sandy and saying,
And say, could
"Sandy,
you help me?"
I'm taking over as mayor, I'm gonna need help.
Yeah.
I know you're
But
already
not
collecting a
put her in a
pension,
paid
would you
position.
come back and be an advisor to me and help
Right.
me? And no, you gotta give them $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
If they really cared
know-
about the city, they would be doing it for nothing.
I could understand if Pedro called me or you or somebody else that we don't have anything to lose by
Well,
because
that's
we're
not
not
gonna happen.
collecting. No, but I'm just
Because see,
saying.
the problem is,
if
we tell Pedro to his face
right,
what we
but what I'm
think.
saying is if he come to us and say, what do you think of this or what do you think of
We'll
that?
say, no, you're
We
nuts.
can help you, give you advice because we're out there hearing everything on a daily basis, what people are thinking. And I think that would be much wise for something like that to happen.
How many of your neighbors and your acquaintances in the South End do you think went out and spent $700 on dinner on New Year's Eve?
How can you afford that? You can't even afford to pay your mortgage.
How do we afford it? We're going broke as a city.
That's what
But
I'm
they
saying.
think it's acceptable
That's
to
what
go
I'm
do it.
saying. When people don't have to worry where it's coming from, then they can spend like
But they
water.
should have to worry.
But they don't have to.
There's a
because the
sense
point
of
is-
entitlement, they can do whatever they want. We
Yes.
don't owe them dinner.
Right.
Did we buy every cop and firefighter that was working first night, did we buy them dinner? No.
No.
You know why? Because they were getting paid to be out there, they're happy with their paycheck.
Right, and if you hire somebody, to be honest, I can never get this one. To be honest, Kevin, you hire me to do a certain job. Why do I have to give you transportation, gas, and everything to get to that job?
You
I
don't.
don't get it. You know?
You're hired to do a job, why do I have to give you a bonus for doing your job?
Exactly. You know?
See, the problem behind it
Depending
is,
on the situation, if when you hire me, you said, if you bring in $20 million and certain things, this is what, because that gives me the incentive to go and push more, to
but
bring
see,
in
part of
more.
the problem is, and you and I are small business owners, we don't have $1 million companies.
Oh, please, I get
But we
I don't
also
even-
know how to stretch a dollar.
Well, we have
If you've
to
got to
tighten
do
our
something, or
belts.
how to go out and find a new customer, how to retain customers, how to keep them happy. This is the stuff that we have nobody in City Hall that's ever had to do that. Both Pedro and Sandra Key Borges, for all intents and purposes, ran failing law firms. They were both either at bankruptcy or close to it, from what I'm told. If they couldn't even run their own law firms, how do we let them come in and give them a $500 million budget to run? They don't know what they're doing.
Well, it's, as I said, I can be nice, but that doesn't mean I can do certain things.
Okay, let's, we talk about it, telling you you're doing a fine job, you're doing a fine job. What happened to you when you were critical of the mayor in a recent newspaper article?
Oh, well, you know what happened. Sarcasm,
You got the phone calls, like, what are you
Well,
doing?
no, it was a phone call. It was just, yeah. It wasn't like, well, Hyacinth, I am gonna look into these things and make sure. And it wasn't directed to him either. It was about department
It's the
head that
facts.
keeps hiring assistant to assist, okay? And when you look, and I go back again to say, Public Works is a big example of
We've got
what's
plenty of
happening.
supervisors.
We have
but we don't have
supervisors,
the
but we don't
workers.
have any workers. And that's something I publicly continue to say. We don't need to hire anyone at the top. We need to make sure we have people to do the work on the ground, because that is critical. And that is with every department.
But see, if they, my allergies are bothering me today, I can't even breathe, but if they listen to some of what you and I say, and we're not geniuses when it comes to this.
Right,
but
and we're not
you do
asking
what your
you to
heart
pay
tells you
for
to
it.
do.
Yeah, because we know.
How much, not to put you on the spot and embarrass you, all the work you do for your NRZ, how much do you make off that?
Nothing. Nothing.
Exactly.
You know, and
Henry Brown, who comes in here next, and spends a lot of time out with homicide victims, their families, on the streets, doing things. You know how much he makes off of what he does? Nothing. Because this is our city, this is where we
Yeah.
live, and we wanna
we
make
want
this
the
a better
best of it.
place.
Yeah, we want the best of it.
We're not coming in from Putnam or wherever the mayor's chief of staff came from because of an offer of a city car and $100,000 a year plus great benefits. We're here because we live here, we love this city, we realize the potential. If we had a real leader, we realize the potential of what this city could be and what it once was, and we want to get back to that. But there's too many people
That was
that
a
are,
long time ago,
well,
you know?
but everything goes in cycles.
I know,
Yeah.
it's a long time ago. We just,
It's a lot of work to get it back, but
you know, and I, as I said, I like what Pedro's doing in a way that he's looking seriously on what people are saying out there about
I
the
don't
deficit.
think he is. I don't think
I
he
think
is.
he is, definitely. The deficit.
He wouldn't be
And again-
spending money on his city credit card that we don't have if he was. Do you remember when he ran for re-election, 2 years ago? And he was driving a little Prius because we were a green city, we were energy conscious? All of his cabinet, and himself included, now we're all driving SUVs again.
Then again, why aren't
It's
they
all for the
buying their
show.
own cars? Why aren't they using their
There's-
own vehicles?
There's 3 people in this city that should have city cars. The mayor, the police chief, and the fire chief. Why does the chief operating officer, the chief of staff, all the department heads, why do they all have city cars?
But
It's
that's
not
what
right.
that's what I said. It goes back to, why is it when you hire me to do a job, I have to pay
Well, that's- your daughter-
your dinner, your rent, your car,
Your daughter's
your
a doctor,
gas?
right? Your daughter's a doctor at St. Francis?
Yeah,
What kind of car do they give her to get back and forth?
they don't give her cars. She has to buy her own car. You know,
That's what they call the real
that's what
world.
I'm saying. So why is it that?
Your other daughter's a teacher, right?
Yeah, she has to buy
What
her
kind
own
of, what
car.
kind of city car does she have?
She doesn't have a city car. She
So
buys
why
her
does
own
somebody
car.
making
This is what I don't
$150,000 a year,
understand.
plus getting what, $20,000 a bonus?
This is
Mr.
what I
Colon
don't
Reeves,
get. Is
who
it-
doesn't even live in the city, or at least not where he claims his address
This
is.
is exactly what I don't understand. Why is it?
He's a good friend of mine. He used to be a captain on the police department. He now works for the city of New Britain, Jim Donnelly. He ran the dispatch center before they turned it over to Jaffe, a huge
Right.
mistake. But Jimmy Donnelly had a city car. As a captain, he was entitled to a take-home car. You know where he left it every night? In the rear parking lot of the police station. And the reason he did that, he said, nobody owes me a ride back and forth to work.
Right, so I
make
can,
enough money to buy
so
my
I
own
can
gas.
understand that you have a car that takes you where you go during the daytime for business of the
Right.
city. But if I have to give you a car that you can take it home and come back, I mean, why don't I buy
But
my own
even,
car to
look
take me
at,
home
look
and
at the
come
way
back?
those are it's not enforced at all. Those cars are supposed to be what they call portal to portal, home and to work. Not to take your family out to the mall and go out to dinner on the weekend driving around. That's also a huge liability for us. If one of those city cars gets in an accident with a family member in there, and God forbid the family member gets killed, who's on the hook for the liability? We are.
City goes.
It's not the intended use, and just because they're breaking the rules, the city will still pay in the end. So, what we really need here is some leadership.
We need people who can really be the watchdog for our money, okay? And how it's been spent.
Well, we need-
And I think the council and the mayor needs to seriously look, and as I said, you can't believe everything you read in the paper, because just like what the paper is saying, oh, it's a political move to do, whatever it may be. You know, like I say something to the newspaper and they turn it another
But
way around.
where do you draw the line between what's politics and what's right and wrong.
Exactly.
The two can come together, they don't have to be totally
So
separate.
I think it would be great if the council and the mayor could sit down and have real
They
communication.
don't though, that's
But it
another
needs
part
to
of the problem.
happen because it can't be one over the other. It has to happen when they both have to
Do
do
you
that.
remember when Pedro, before Eddie was convicted and resigned, Pedro Segura was the president of the city council. That's how he became mayor. And there used to be such a total lack of respect. The way Eddie treated the council and had no respect for them or their resolutions. And his chief of staff even once said, well, we just consider your resolutions advisory.
Oh, yeah,
We
yeah.
don't listen to them.
Yeah, lack
They're
of
just
respect,
advisory.
lack of
A
respect.
total lack of respect. They never met, they never talked. Pedro was back to that exact same
Well,
point.
I'm hoping and pray to God he's not like
They don't
that.
sit down
No, I
weekly
hope
or monthly, he doesn't sit down with the council leadership and
he needs to.
discuss what's going on.
And so we can give him a little advice and it's all free.
Look at what happened last week, when they were trying to get the votes for Sandra Key Borges to become chief operating officer.
Oh, what a
Could you-
disrespect to
could you ever
us
imagine
as
that?
residents sitting in there
Well,
and they're
that-
in there, you
that
know,
was a big part of
forever.
it.
They should have done their caucusing way before we get there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the point is that people, it's called manipulating.
So let me just ask you, would you ever envision something like that happening under Eddie Perez?
What?
That whole mess? Eddie would, Pedro, the problem with Pedro is he's not strategic. He doesn't, he has people around him that think they know how to play the game, but they have no clue. And, again, I hate to give credit to a corrupt administration, but Eddie Perez and Matt Hennessy knew how to play the game. Before
Yeah, they play games that I
No,
didn't care much
well, I
for.
shouldn't call it a game, but
Yeah,
before
I-
Eddie Perez would ever put someone's name up for a nomination, they would have made sure they had the votes or be able to get the votes. Sandra Key
Yeah.
Borges had one vote on the council.
I know. Well, nobody wants to support, nobody wants to support
Call it what it is.
incompetency. The point is that I have an experience that I won't forget, with us wanting to meet as a neighborhood. And she directed the person, no, you can't meet with her, okay? With the 3 NRC, and that bothers me.
It should.
Because,
They're there because of us.
Pen Gore, as fun as he is, you know what I'm saying? He was just a fun kind of loving kind of person with
Well,
a
I
lot of
gotta say,
saying nothing, doing
The first
nothing.
time I've ever really had a conversation with him was last Monday
He
night.
never stopped progress from happening.
And he came back for the entertainment value of the council meeting.
Oh,
David Panagore was there
he
just
thought
to
it was
see,
an entertainment,
just to see what happened. We got a phone call, okay. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, how you doing?
Okay.
All right,
Aye.
good. Okay. I just want to address one thing. I just heard that after this show, Eddie Perez is going to be a guest on Reverend Henry Brown's show, so that should be a real interesting. I had Eddie Perez on my show.
Quick, Trish, come lock the door.
Yeah, prevent us from getting.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Well, Jonathan, some people just never go away?
Right.
Although he could be like Governor Rowland. Governor Rowland found Jesus when he went to prison.
Well, Eddie did find
So
Jesus too, right?
maybe Eddie's trying to find him before he goes to prison, which is, he's not walking away from this.
Well, it would be good if he could have you, Reverend Brown, even sit on the show. I think that'd be a real good
I wouldn't-
program to have
no.
you and Reverend Henry Brown.
The last thing I want to do is add any credibility to Eddie Perez. So what's your question, Jonathan?
Well, first of all, there's some real serious issues in the city. It's been a very bad, violent weekend over the past couple of days. I think another young woman also collapsed on Westland and Auburn Street, and that has
That's going to be, and just not to give out a lot of information, but the autopsy was done on Saturday. There was no damage, because my first thought was maybe she was not punched, knocked out, hit her head, and died. Apparently her brain and all of her organs were normal, but she was also, from what I'm told, about 300 pounds, and there may have been, they're waiting toxicology results to see what was actually in her blood.
Well, the bottom line is there's just some bad decision making that a few of our young people are getting caught up into. I mean, you mentioned this young teenager stealing drugs, and this other woman 4 months pregnant coming into the city. You indicate it's narcotics, or it's not even marijuana. So there's still some very serious
Well,
problems.
the press release said, narcotics. I was told a little while ago that it was most likely marijuana.
Okay.
Yes, it's
Well,
ridiculous.
this
Again,
morning I had Congressman John Lawson on my program. He seems like he's a very honest, sincere person, honest, sincere elected official, and he has a very powerful position. And I think kind of that's the direction I'm trying to move into, to network with people that have power and influence. Because he has the ability, from what Stan was telling me, that he can green light and make things happen. And I think at some
Yeah,
point...
but Jonathan, so can you, so can Hyacinth, so can I. There's plenty of things that have happened in this city that I will take credit for gladly.
yeah, me too.
There's a lot of things we've changed, and we don't have to run to John Larson to do it.
Yeah, I understand that too, but I'm just saying, you know, we elect him, and he can go to Washington, D.C., and he can lobby for us. And I'm just saying
Isn't that why we elect him?
people in the community, whether it's you or Hyacinth or people in city government or people in state government, it's very important to know, you know, what to do. You know, we want to change things in our community, who to go to,
We know who to go to,
network,
Jonathan. We
where
can
to
change
turn towards.
things, Jonathan.
You know, don't feel like, you know, you don't have any power. That's my whole point.
Oh,
I think
no, Jonathan, we never feel powerless.
And Jonathan, we'll let you put in a little plug. I talked to Stan McCauley about 2 hours ago, and he was telling me that Jonathan had John Larson on, he's gonna have Howard Baldwin on in the next couple weeks. You've got some good people going on your program, and for people that like public access and you like this type of program, Stan McCauley, who was the last good executive director here, although we'll give Linda Bear a little credit. Linda Bear was a good interim director, but unlike what we have now. But anyways, if you like this type of thing where you like the grassroots conversations,
Right.
unedited, honest conversations, accesstv.org, which you can get on your computer, accesstv.org. Stan has a lot of good programming on there. Jonathan is one of the regular programs.
Got education, too.
Yeah, a couple others we won't mention, but Jonathan's is one of the programs that has had
So
some.
you get this online, right?
Yeah, you got to go online and get it.
Yeah, well, it's too bad, because, you know, with a station like this, we
But-
should have more.
But see, the other part that Stan is doing, which is what's supposed to be done here, Stan is not the face in front of the camera all the time.
No,
Stan is mentoring people like Jonathan,
growing.
Arjo Witch has a program on there, quite a few others that have programs. Stan gives them the tools to do it, but he's not the overseer doing everything. And that's what public access TV is supposed to be about. Training people, giving them the tools to come in here and put programming on the air, not to take the staff as your own
Yeah, I remember
production
Stan used
team.
to train people with
Yeah.
dementia.
But that doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen anymore,
So-
so how?
Anyways, Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan, what do you think about the casino being shut down?
What casino?
What casino that you're talking about? Oh, you mean the one up in the park?
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
I
gonna,
didn't even hear about that. Well, they had something that shut down the...
yeah, we're gonna get into that in a couple of minutes if you wanna give us a call back when we get into that, but, yeah, let's finish up about the council, but,
but no, I think it just boils down to the point is that, as you say, we need a watchdog for our money and helping us really run the city in the right and proper way. And I know the council are trying to do the best they can, but they need to sit down and communicate, because if they don't communicate, they're not gonna accomplish anything.
but somebody asked me a question last week, which kinda made me think. And I haven't been around Hartford maybe more than 20, 25 years. And somebody came on and said, when's the last time we had a good mayor in Hartford? And I had to think back and think,
It's always
Yeah,
an
maybe-
issue, always a problem.
maybe Ann Usono?
I don't know,
No.
I never knew her.
And she was our last Republican mayor, which may explain it, even though we're both on the Democratic Town Committee. But anyways, yep, I really can't say Carrie Perry, Thurman Milner,
Oh,
Eddie
Carrie
Perez.
Perry.
even Mayor Mike. As much as I was a good friend of Mayor Mike's, he wasn't a manager. A lot of stuff
Well,
fell into...
he's like to socialize.
Well, a lot of stuff fell into
Yeah.
place because of his personality. He was able to
Yeah.
win people over and get them to want to work with you. But it's not about somebody that sits down and says, okay, let's cut the fat out of the budget, let's, do what we have to do.
Let's not spend what we don't have.
Yeah, and
Let's think about the people who has to work and
well,
have to
somebody,
pay their taxes.
people that have had to run their lives that way because they're business owners or they work in the corporate world. The stuff that goes on in Hartford, you would never survive in the corporate world. Even, we've got a deputy corporation counsel who thinks nothing of sending insulting emails around. He sent one to Ken Kennedy a couple weeks ago, I don't work for you.
Oh,
He sent the one about Raul de Jesus being mentally ill and unstable.
oh,
I haven't seen it yet, but I understand he sent one to Chief Ravella that was pretty intemperate. He
oh.
sent one out about a member of the audit commission
Who did
that
that?
I don't answer to you. John Van Norden,
Oh, my
Deputy
God.
Corporation Counsel.
Well, why did they vote him in?
Sandra Key Borges hired him. He's the one that didn't even have a law license. He couldn't even come into Connecticut and practice law.
We don't need people
But-
like that.
But this is what I said, they just have no touch with what goes on in the real world, in the business community. If you sat, because technically the city council is our board of directors. If you were an attorney at Aetna, and you sent out an email about a member of the board of directors being
You'll
mentally
be
ill,
gone.
you'd be
You'll
shown
be
the door
gone.
that same
Yeah,
day. Don't come
you'll be
back, here's
gone.
your paycheck, you're done.
Yeah. And why we still keep this person around for?
Well, and what kind of person thinks that's acceptable to write an email like
See,
that?
that's how much they think of us in Hartford,
Yeah, well,
okay?
We're
They
a
don't
gravy
think,
train.
they
They
don't
come
think
here-
much of us.
the guy was let go as the corp counsel in Schenectady, New York. So he shows up in Hartford because we're
I
fools
wonder who
enough,
got him here.
I don't know, but we're fools enough to give him a job.
Right. We like to pick up
So-
rejects and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
okay, so we beat this one to death with the mayor being on bad terms with the council. I think you're gonna see it get worse.
Well, I'm hoping they can work things out and, because it's
We're
only
not
gonna.
going to with the current staff that's around the mayor. Until the
Okay.
mayor makes a clean break and says, I'm gonna bring in people that are gonna point me in the right direction. And like I started off saying, all the embarrassing situations that are happening to Mayor Segura are his own doing, because he's brought in terrible people that are advising him. Until he starts listening to real people in the community
Yeah.
who are out there listening. I had somebody, one of my customers, we talked last week, she owns a small business, and she was like, we've gotta wake up the Hispanic community as to what's going on.
Oh,
They
so
just think because
sleeping.
Pedro's Puerto Rican,
They are so
they'll just,
sleeping on
whatever he does.
They are
So
sleeping.
she said she had put together a few of her friends, and they were gonna start running ads on Telemundo, explaining what's going on, and just trying to shock people into waking them up. She said, and what brought her to that point was, she had a woman that she talked to, a young woman with a couple kids, and this woman was talking about how tough it is to live in Hartford with the taxes and money and everything else, and concerned about the education her kids are getting. So they had a conversation, and I guess this woman came right out, and I don't wanna get gross here, but this woman came right out and said, I have to, squeeze every penny to survive, and make food, put my kids through school, buy clothing for my kids. And she told her, she says, I haven't bought a new pair of panties in 3 years because I just don't
Can't
have the money
afford
to
to.
do it.
Yeah, you have
I'm
to go to
thinking,
the
how
kids, to
sad
pay
is
the
that?
bills,
Yeah, we've got a mayor that'll go out and spend $700 on dinner and bottles of wine on the taxpayer's expense, but we've got this woman
But
trying
he
to
did
get
say
by.
he used his own money though.
2 months later. That's not right. Why did you do it in the first place? And at what point did you realize 2 months later it was wrong? When people at City Hall started talking about it, and the word was going through the building, what the mayor did?
Well, Kevin, I'm gonna tell you something. There's a lot of wrong things are happening in this city, okay? And it goes back to accountability. You hire somebody to do a job, you make sure that person is doing his or her job. If they're not doing it, you let them go. I don't care if you're in a union
But
or not,
It goes
okay?
It goes
It's
throughout
all
the
about
whole system.
accountability.
I was talking to a cop yesterday, and he was upset of the conditions of the cars. He said, I'll take out a car at the beginning of my shift and go in the trunk, and there'll be rotted food, chicken bones,
Nobody cleans them out.
and the gas tank will be on empty, the car's a mess. He says, and I know this for like with the state police, if you're a state trooper, even though that's your car and you take it home, the lieutenants at the barracks still come out and inspect those cars.
Before.
It better be washed, it better be cleaned, you better not
Exactly.
have garbage in your car, the ashtrays need to be cleaned. But nobody does that in Hartford.
So-
I says, that's the issue where there needs to be accountability. If you
Yeah.
start setting the tone, and they know who had that car the previous shift,
So they should
you
have
go back to that person and say,
cleaned the
you will
car
not
out.
bring this car in with an empty gas tank, because what if there was
Emergency.
an emergency, And they say, I can't get there, and my gas tank is on fumes. And they have plenty of time at the end of their shift, if they have to go in and fill it up with gas at City Yard. But that comes down to accountability. Whether you're a sergeant in the police
Yeah.
department, or a department head, or the mayor, there's gotta be accountability. And there isn't, it's a free-for-all.
So I wanted to, since you're in the police issue, are they gonna be getting a garage, because they need a garage?
I don't know. Where's the money gonna come from? You know, it would be nice if we had,
It would have been nice if when they planned that whole plan.
they did.
They would have put the garage in there.
See, that's where Henry's next guest is the one that, we had 3 groundbreakings for that facility, when the money was never in place.
Waste.
They cut a full floor off the building. Even Chief Ravello, if you ask him, he'll tell you, they've outgrown that building, they've been in there a month, and it's too small for them.
It's like every other thing.
So they eliminated the parking deck, they eliminated a full floor off the complex, because the money wasn't there. Now, as far as the parking garage, there's towns in this state that get money bonded for ball diamonds, for Little League.
Right.
If we had a mayor, and the mayor's chief of staff had a decent relationship with the governor, they could go in there and probably walk out with bond money at the next bonding commission meeting to build a garage. But we don't have those relationships. We burn every bridge we
It's
have.
kind of sad, though. I thought the mayor had a relationship with the governor.
Most certainly does not.
Oh, wow.
Most certainly does not, and I say that, you know, with all confidence.
Wow.
You and I could make a phone call and walk into the governor's office this afternoon quicker than Pedro Segura or his chief of staff could. His chief of
But it's
staff,
sad, but it is sad though, it is sad, because just like how they did Hartford High, it's just like what they do with this, community complex center, you know, this, public safety complex. You know, so I see the pattern, so, you know, there's no way
but
you're
it's
gonna
called
tell me.
relationships and building
Yeah.
bridges.
Yeah, so there's no way you're gonna tell me
Let me-
that
I'll tell
our
you-
previous person was any better.
A quick story right now. The day that President Obama came to Hartford a few weeks ago, there was supposed to be a council meeting, and Sean Wooden was late for the meeting. So I was ribbing him a little bit like I normally do in my sarcastic way. And I said, you're telling me that President Obama was more important than all of us sitting here waiting for a council meeting? He says, yeah, but he said, a good buddy of mine was up with the president. He said, one of my law school classmates, and I don't even remember the name. He texted it to me last night.
That's okay.
He said, he said, I thought it was smart to go up and meet up with him, because word is that my buddy is gonna be named the Secretary of Transportation in the next few weeks. So last night he sent me the information, and apparently President Obama is naming Sean Wooden's buddy today Secretary of Transportation. Now that's a relationship that could have big dividends for the city of Hartford, not just roads and bridges, but we get transportation money for DUI grants, for police officers, traffic enforcement. There's a lot of transportation money, and that's a good relationship that's gonna make sense and hopefully have some benefits for us
Right,
down
but
the road.
as you say, it's about the relationship and building that relationship and making sure it's work for you in general.
Not spitting in the faces of these people
Right,
that hold the
right.
checkbook.
Right.
And that's what we have a history of doing. We did it with Governor Rell. You know, our current mayor is doing it with Governor Malloy. And Governor Malloy loves this city. It's his home.
Well, of course, he lives here.
That's-
It's not a thing that he goes off down to Fairfield country.
No, he
Fairfield
considers
town.
Hartford his
He lives
hometown
right
now.
here, yeah, that's for sure. I
And you'll
know
see
that.
him out. A lot of nights you'll see him downtown having dinner. He runs a lot of events at the governor's residence. So those are the relationships we need to build. Okay, we've got a few minutes left. The casino. There's an area in Keeney Park, right by the cricket field, that has gotten the name of the casino because of the people that hang out up
Hanging out
there.
in the park.
They drink, smoke marijuana, gamble, a lot of crude activity going on. The type of stuff you don't want to see in a public park.
Because kids
With
are in the
people that are
park.
bringing families
Families
through.
are in the park.
Even, I got my education on cricket this weekend because I was getting so many phone calls about this problem. I said, let me go up there and see what's going on. And while I was up there, you must know Michael Chambers, who, and I know I'm gonna get all this wrong, but Michael Chambers is a big leader in the West Indian community. Big in the Cricket Hall of Fame, the Sportsman's Club and everything else. So he was up there, and I knew nothing about the game of cricket. So the city has just rebuilt the cricket fields. And there was issues with that because it was supposed to be, they call it the pitch, it's supposed to be clay and compacted down. Instead, when the city rebuilt it, they just put topsoil in, which isn't acceptable and doesn't work. But because of what they call the casino and all the issues with that, they've now barricaded off the road. So as you come into Keady Park from Windsor Avenue, you can't make the left-hand turn and go to the cricket fields. They put barricades, they've shut that off. And I usually like to support the police department and what they do, but this is craziness. So now
So
you
you
can't
shut
get,
it off from the police, do you? The police car can get through
I
there?
think they can get in the other way if they have a key to a gate.
Okay.
But you can't get to the cricket fields, you can't get to the basketball courts, and it's just wrong. It's a limited group of people that have ruined the use of the park for everyone.
And the people who are doing the gambling doesn't need a car, they can just walk over the fence and do their thing.
Well, no, they didn't even do that. This weekend where they put the barricades up, now all the cars are parking on this side of the barricade, just moving the problem 100 feet down the road. Instead of going in there and enforcing and saying, this isn't acceptable.
Right.
Smoking marijuana in our park, gambling out in the open is not acceptable. Here's your ticket to community court. Go do 8 hours of cleanup with Judge Norco, and let's see if you come back up here and continue to smoke marijuana. Nobody needs to go to jail for it. But it's a type of thing where maybe a slap on the wrist from community court would get them going in the right direction. No, instead the police department, Deputy Chief Hightower, put up Jersey barriers or big concrete barriers and shut down that part of the park. A few problems with it. One, if you're a senior citizen or somebody that isn't mobile and wants to go to a cricket game,
You won't be able to get
you
in.
can't get there. You've got to walk through a little bridge in the woods and then across it's like a cow pasture. It's not smooth.
Who was he working with? Who was the
Well, that's
Hightower
the
working
part of the
with?
problem. He was supposed, the West Indian community asked for a meeting,
Right,
set it up for last Thursday night, and Chief Hightower was a no-show.
okay. I
So
think,
Friday, they find out the barricade. I started getting, Friday night and Saturday, my phone was ringing off the hook.
I got a phone call too about that, and I said, look, I follow a leader. If I have an issue, I call my lieutenant before I go further. If my lieutenant can't work with me, then I go to the next level, okay?
This was the deputy chief who apparently made this
So,
decision.
so there was some kind of not so nice word were given to this person, by Lieutenant Hightower too.
Deputy Chief Hightower.
Deputy Chief Hightower, which was, the way the person said to me, if it was me, I thought it was very inappropriate to, you need to work with us. We are the community. You work with us to resolve the issue. But don't take it upon yourself to go put some Jersey barrier where nobody can get through. Okay? That's not the right way to do business.
What are we gonna do next? Are we gonna Jersey barrier off Garden Street because there's been too many shootings?
Yeah,
No,
right.
you saturate it with the
That's
shooting
not
task
the
force and
answer to
everybody
the
else.
problem. As you say, let's talk about what these guys are doing, let someone from.
And all we're doing is moving the problem from one part of the park to
But
another.
let somebody from the police department go in there and have a meeting and say, guys, we need to stop this casino. You know why? Because the public, the community,
And
the
they could've-
family are coming
We
in.
have a very large West Indian community.
Right, it
Um,
is, it is.
Actually, I don't have to tell you, you're part of it.
Yes,
so,
I am.
They could have gone to the West Indian community and said,
And
fix
discuss
this before we have to come in. and do it."
exactly, and so these are the consequences if it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But don't just go in there and just take over and make these people feel like they're nothing, or
Well,
they're
now
not worth
even
anything.
families or kids that wanna go to the basketball court,
Can't
or
get
somebody
in.
that wants to go have a picnic in the park and go to a field and put out
Right.
a blanket and sit down at you.
Right, that's bad
That
thinking.
whole section, the whole half the
Bad
park is
thinking,
closed.
bad thinking.
No.
That's not a recipe for relationship at all.
No, it's not how you get things
And
done.
something needs to be done. Somebody needs to sit down with Hightower and say, look, this is not the way we do business.
I don't know if you can sit down with Chief Hightower, I think you may have to sit down with Chief Ravella
Well, then we take it
and have
there.
him flex a little bit.
Then we take it there if that's what we have to do. Not because you give somebody a promotion, that means that person can just come in and just step right over you. There is still a chain of command here, and it's important for, as we continue to say, for the police department to build a relationship with the people to get the best out of everything,
Okay, now, I think it's the gun buyback program that we talked about last week, I
Yes.
think happens this coming weekend. So I would watch the newspapers for more about that. There's gonna be another one in August. The faith-based initiative, 4 minutes?
4 minutes, okay.
So the faith-based initiative that a lot of meetings have been held, we need to get that off the ground and get it going. There's been
But-
enough meetings,
But
get it going.
isn't there, we had an incident, wasn't there someone who went out to the family? Because, you know, you can't do anything until something happened to reach out
I
to
think
that
probably
family.
the only one that probably went out to the family from last night's homicide was probably Henry. I
Well,
don't know if he did,
And
I'm just
that's,
assuming.
and again, there got to be somebody connecting with the family.
But see, even like, you know, this kid that I mentioned earlier, and I'll say his first name. I'm not gonna say the last name. The first name is Seville. If somebody knows this kid, they need to intervene before he ends up getting shot.
Yes, definitely.
You know, we can't sit here and talk about it.
He can
and
leave
say,
town
"Jesus."
but he can't rob a drug
Well, he
dealer.
obviously needs some guidance in his life.
Yeah,
And I don't think you're gonna be able to get the, I think he's like 18, 19 years old.
Oh, yeah, he needs some guidance, he needs somebody to rope
Well,
him
it
in.
sounds like he's living with his grandmother.
Okay,
Which-
poor grandma,
yeah.
grandma can't take care of him, he's taking care of business himself,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, Grandma called the police yesterday saying they were shooting at her grandson.
Yes,
Well,
well,
you-
grandma can't take care of that boy,
Say,
he's
Grandma,
18
get
years
used to
old.
it, because the path he's going down,
He is gonna,
he's gonna find a bullet that's not gonna miss him.
exactly, and that's not good,
No,
okay?
especially when we have a chance
So
to save
somebody
life.
in the community needs to get it, maybe if he have a mentor, like a police officer or somebody, to kinda help him and guide him, and say, hey, this is not the way to go, honey, because you always
Well, I
gonna
think
have
he's
to
had a
look
lot
at-
of involvement with the police, but not on a
not a positive
level.
way, then we need to change that relationship, you know, because
Yeah,
I know it
it'll
can
be-
happen.
It'll be another article in the newspaper and a funeral that people will be going to. We'll see-
Yeah.
We'll see R.I.P. Seville.
It can happen, we just gotta sit down, put our hands together. But as you say, when something happened, whether it's Reverend Brown or somebody else, can go out and meet that family to talk about how we can help this person,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what it
I
is.
can't believe how fast time goes by.
Oh, what time
We're
is
almost
it?
out of time, we've got like 2 minutes left.
Yeah,
Um,
so again, don't forget, guys, I'm having,
oh, there we go.
yeah, at
Wait.
Maple Avenue, don't forget our Zumba tomorrow, 5:30. Yeah, Gary, you're gonna have to come to that Zumba.
Forget Zumba, come to
I
the
love
reservoir.
Zumba.
We'll go out and look at the deer
Yes,
and
you
the
can walk
ducks.
to the park too, you know, you can walk to the park, 'cause that's what I like to walk.
Thank you for